It's Valentine's Day, and who loves mock drafts more than us? Myself and Shane bring you a one-round live mock draft tonight, plus much more on the Draft Countdown podcast. Hello, everyone, and welcome to tonight's special edition of the Draft Countdown podcast. I'm your co-host, Brian Bosards, joined as always by my co-host, Shane P. Hallam. Shane, 70 days, 22 hours, 58 minutes, 26 seconds away from the 2024 NFL Draft.
Yeah, we got the Combine list this week. That's the next big thing coming up quick, and we'll be looking forward to that. And mock draft tonight, man, which is always exciting for me. So I love doing a mock with you.
We do love mock drafts around here. Well, some of us love mock drafts more than others, if we're going to be honest. But, hey, that's neither here nor there.
We can always do a 7-rounder on the show one week if you want.
That'd be a long-ass show. So if you're new to the channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Hit the notification bell so you get notified when we go live each and every week. Sometimes other points during the week. You never know. That's why you hit that notification bell. If you got a question and you're following along on Twitter, send us to @DraftCountdown. We'll answer your question at the end of the show. Or if you're following along live in chat tonight, send it in the chat box there. We'll answer it there. Or if you're a member of our Discord, you can ask a question there and we will answer it. If you're not a member of our Discord, go to draftcountdown.com. In the top right corner of the search bar, there is a link to join it. Come in, have fun, ask questions there. All right. Start off tonight, Shane. We must congratulate, begrudgingly, some of us, the Kansas City Chiefs on winning the Super Bowl over to San Francisco in a nice it got fun towards the end anyway. It was kind of boring there for a little while, but got exciting towards the end, goes to overtime. Kansas City, the winner over the 49ers in the Super Bowl. So congrats to those guys. They're picking 32nd now, San Francisco picking 31st.
Well, I bet 5 units on the Chiefs, so I was happy with the win. I was kind of rooting for them otherwise anyway. It was just fun to see Patrick Mahomes do his thing, even in not the greatest game he's ever played, right? San Francisco did pretty well against them for most of the game. Overtime, you put the ball in his hands, Andy Reid is the head coach. Like, you're not going to win that. So, but yeah, I mean, we're getting into debate territory of just how good is Mahomes all time and how high on the list is he and what does he need really to pass Tom Brady in the future, which is crazy to think so early in his career.
No doubt. It's wild to even have to be having this conversation this soon, I guess. Some tactical errors by Kyle Shanahan coaching that game, it seems. But hey, better luck next year for everybody else not named the Kansas City Chiefs. All right, Shane, is the college football coaching carousel finally over? I think we can call it now, right?
Look, you said that like 2 weeks ago, so don't be so sure.
You're right. Boston College was looking for a coach because their head coach, Jeff Hafley, said, screw it. I don't want to deal with these kids no more and re-recruiting my team every day. So I'm going to the Green Bay Packers to be the defensive coordinator. They replaced him with Bill O'Brien, who was the Ohio State University's offensive coordinator for about 3 weeks. But now he's Boston College's head coach. More on Ohio State's offensive coordinator now, as UCLA was in need of a new head coach, as Chip Kelly said, I'm going to get fired anyway, so I might as well get out of here, get a little bit more job security. Guessing Chip Kelly's never going to be a head coach anywhere again. So at this point,
I wouldn't be so sure. I wouldn't
maybe not.
I've seen worse get jobs again, right?
But Chip Kelly, now the Ohio State offensive coordinator, replacing Bill O'Brien, and this has to be nothing but a net win, right?
Yeah, I mean, look, I thought Bill O'Brien was a good fit, but Chip Kelly, I think with the offense Ohio State has, how much he likes to run the football, Travion Henderson, Quinshon Judkins, I think Ohio State's tailor-made for a Chip Kelly offense.
Buy all the shares, right?
Yeah, I think they're going to explode. As long as Will Howard's not a complete dud, I think that's your only fear.
So UCLA replaced Chip Kelly with a name kind of out of left field almost, but Deshaun Foster, former UCLA great running back, former Carolina Panthers running back, now the head coach at UCLA. I kind of like it.
Yeah, keep some consistency, keep the players there, right? We saw Michigan do that. We've seen UCLA do that. I think more teams are going to be doing this, hiring in-house to try to keep players from transferring. So I like it. Deshaun Foster was a mainstay for my fantasy teams back in the day. So it's always wild to see those guys turn into head coaches.
Yep, no doubt about it. All right, so enough with everything else. Let's get what everybody came here to see tonight. And that is our second live mock draft since we had some semblance of what the draft order is going to be, right? We did a lot of top 10 mock drafts during the season, and we had a full staff mock draft about a month ago. So now me and you here are going to alternate picks. Shane will have odd numbers. I'll have even for the most part. We'll do some swapping a little bit later to accommodate some picks. But for the most part, that'll be the way it goes. So, Shane, that puts you up first. By way of the Carolina Panthers, the Chicago Bears pick 1. This is easy.
I mean, it's not so easy for a lot of Bears fans. I think there's a lot of people still holding out some hope of the Bears trading this pick for a haul, for an even bigger haul than they got last year. It seems like would be the requirement. They've said the right things about Justin Fields so far. So I don't think it's 100% of what this pick is going to be, but I think it would be pretty crazy to keep Justin Fields, have to pay him a pretty decently sized contract rather than trade him for a second round pick this year and a third round next year, which I think you can get. I think the interest will be there, and you get, the best quarterback in this draft. And you still have another top 10 pick to boot. I think that's fine. I don't think you need the big haul again, kick the can down the line, because the current staff, head coach, GM, they may not have a job if they trade this pick. They may not have a job to make the next picks. So do you really want to do that? So I think the Chicago Bears take Caleb Williams, quarterback, Southern Cal.
Yeah, that feels pretty straightforward. Buy or sell Justin Fields, the next quarterback for your Pittsburgh Steelers.
I wish I would buy it. I'd love it, but it's not going to happen.
Current betting favorite right now, but I don't know what decides those things.
What's the betting favorite on Ryan Tannehill? Because I'll bet on him being the next Pittsburgh Steelers starting quarterback. Unfortunately,
God, that's gross.
Yeah, very.
Well, have fun with that. The rest of the AFC North will be happy to see it. All right, that brings me up here, pick 2, Washington Commanders. And as much as I would love to appease at least one Commanders fan out there and draft an offensive tackle here, I'm not going to do that. Sorry, Jimmy. We're going to replace one North Carolina quarterback with another North Carolina quarterback here. I go back and forth here, Drake May or Jaden Daniels. I'm settling in here with Drake May, I think, as the number 2 pick. I just think that's the way it's going to end up once we get through the cycle and all that. So I'm going to go Drake May here as the new QB1 of the Washington Commanders.
I like that fit with Cliff Kingsbury just fine. I think either quarterback would fit. They're back-to-back in my rankings. I flipped May above Daniels again. I might flip-flop back again by the time we get to the end here. Both are really good, but I think the younger player or the upside makes sense.
Yep. There we go. Buccaneer Bruce in the house. tonight.
Watching on the YouTube.
So,
You can too if you're listening to the podcast. You can always watch us live on Wednesday nights.
yep. All right. So Shane, you're on the board now with the New England Patriots. Jared Mayo, the new head coach there, new regime in charge. Is QB3 coming off at pick 3?
Yeah, it is. I know there's a lot of Patriots fans that want Marvin Harrison or want an offensive tackle or, kick the quarterback can down the road, but you're not going to have a top 3 pick maybe again, especially next year. There might not be a quarterback worth the top 20 pick. So you better pick one now. I'm going to take Jaden Daniels, quarterback for LSU. Get best quarterback left. I think is going number 3 to the Patriots.
I know this feels like it. I should know this off the top of my head, but when was the last time we had QB 1, 2, 3? I know 1999, but I feel like it's been more recent than that.
For 1, 2, and 3, 2021 would have been then Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, Trey Lance, right?
Okay, yeah, I knew it had been recent. Maybe I just blocked that out of my memory because Zach Wilson and Trey Lance have been duds.
And Justin Fields and Mac Jones after that haven't been too hot either.
Yeah.
So
and 1999,
Lawrence, to be honest,
and 1999 is burned in my memory because of the Bengals turning down the Saints' entire haul of picks to draft Achilles Smith. So yeah,
it's huge.
Not going to forget that. All right. That brings me up here, pick 4, the Arizona Cardinals. We talked a little bit about this off air. You said this isn't easy as I think it is. I think it's easy, and I think they're drafting Marvin Harrison Jr. at pick 4. Edge rusher, I guess, would be the other spot that I would entertain here, but I think you have no true number 1 with Marquise Hollywood Brown set to be an unrestricted free agent. So saying you don't bring him back, I think you go with Harrison Jr.
I think they should as well, but we always feel this way in February. Right. By the time we get a week or 2 out, there's the top 5 pick somewhere that's like, oh, wow, this is going to go a completely different direction. And I think it could be the Cardinals. Taking a receiver top 5 isn't exactly, typical, though I think Harrison's very deserving.
That brings us back to you now, and Jim Harbaugh and the Los Angeles Chargers. Pick 5.
I'm a bit torn here. A lot for this pick to me depends on what the Chargers do with free agency. They have, we know the cap space is a problem. They're going to have to cut a bunch of guys or restructure or whatever. So a lot to me depends on that. I'm going to go a little bit off the board here because I think there's a chance they restructure Keenan Allen. He stays, right? You drafted Quinn Johnson last year. I know it's not this regime, but he's there. Mike Williams still there. So I know a lot of people, myself included, have Malik Neighbors from LSU here. But I do think they're going to want weapons. And I think Jim Harbaugh, more than receiver, values the tight end position. So I'm going to take Brock Bowers here at number 5. I think he is just as dynamic a weapon as Malik Neighbors. Gerald Everett's a free agent. You're really not going to go into the year with Donald Parham and Stone Smart as your tight ends, right? So I could see them opting for Bowers over Neighbors.
I love Brock Bowers, and I've mocked Brock Bowers to Los Angeles several times throughout this process, up and down the draft order. And I'm with you. I think he's easily, without question, the best tight end in this class. But are people going to question his size coming out? Because, he's probably going to be about the same size as Jaheim Bell measured in at the Senior Bowl, right? I wouldn't be shocked if he comes in at like 6'1.5", 245, something like that.
Yeah, no, I think it's fair. I think it will be a question, and it's not going to be on everyone's board. That's kind of what I've said when people are like, oh, why is Brock Bowers falling in mocks or whatever? There's a lot of teams aren't going to take him if that's his measurables, right? Doesn't matter. Right. He doesn't fit the offense. I think the Chargers would be one spot where he could fit.
All right. brings me up here to 6 with the New York Giants, and we are very thankful that the Chargers decided that Malik Neighbors was not the pick at 5 because now he is going to be the pick at 6. A lot of people, I've seen mocks picking offensive tackle here. I cannot. Are you really dumping on one of the tackles that you drafted in the top 5 recently? I mean, is that talk? Is that a thing?
Good. Yeah. Andrew Thomas has been awful. Like he probably needs to move to left guard, and you could draft a left tackle to replace him.
Okay. I mean, I'm not going to talk myself into that right now, but I could see how that can be talked into because they do have a hole at left guard right now. But I'm going to take Malik Neighbors here just to get the dynamic wide receiver, and because I don't think they're moving on from Daniel Jones right now. So,
no, I think it'd be, unless one of those top 3 quarterbacks were here, I think it'd be tough to do so.
Right.
I'm with you. I think Neighbors is a great pick if he's sitting there for them.
All right. Tennessee Titans now up to pick 7, and are they happy that all these offensive tackles are still here?
Yeah, we'll take it at Tennessee. I think that's tough. Right tackle. You have Dylan Raduns from a couple years back. He hasn't been great. I think Nicholas Petit-Frere and Jalen Duncan are fine, but you don't want Jalen Duncan to be your left tackle, right? I don't think that's the ideal. So, I think the Titans should take the best offensive tackle available. I'm going to go Joe Alt, the offensive tackle from Notre Dame. I think, going back and watching a little bit more, I think he's clearly the best offensive tackle in this class. He's just so consistent, such a good pass protector. If you want Will Levis to do well, I think that's the pick and the play.
Do you think Brian Callahan was hired to try to save Will Levis, or is that just going hopefully a byproduct of his hiring? And if not, we'll fix it next year.
Yeah, well, no one, right. I think it is a byproduct where we got to give him another shot. There's no one else available here. So if Brian Callahan can fix him and you can get the quarterback right, then everything else falls into place.
There you go. All right. That brings us now to myself and pick 8 in the Atlanta Falcons. And I don't want to do this early because I don't like this particular quarterback, as he is currently QB7 on my board and somewhere around the 70 to 80 range on my overall board. But the NFL is going to be much higher on Michigan quarterback J.J. McCarthy than I am. Probably than you are, if we're going to be honest. Is 8 too high? I don't know. But for the sake of this, I think the Atlanta Falcons, if they do not acquire Russell Wilson, which has been rumored, or they don't get in on the Justin Fields trade, which they could, they're going to get a quarterback from somewhere. Maybe it's J.J. McCarthy, and you think he'll be a good fit in the McVay offense that they're bringing in?
I do. I mean, Zach Robinson, who I think we both scouted a quarterback at one point for the draft, is the new offensive coordinator. I think J.J. McCarthy is a good fit for them. Both of you and I are lower on McCarthy than consensus. I'm still not sold. Like J.J. McCarthy, and I'm recording a video that'll go up on our YouTube Shorts scouting reports here. His greats are maybe best of the class, better than Caleb Williams. His great throws are that good, but they're 1-1-1-1. The highlights are amazing. The whole film, I don't think, is that amazing. It almost feels Will Levis-ish to me, that maybe he doesn't end up this high when push comes to shove when we get to the draft, but we'll see.
I also had Will Levis about that range last year too in my overall rankings. I don't regret it a bit.
Nope.
So, but do teams, we're hearing the chatter right now, or people are leaking it out to somebody for a reason, saying that the 2025 class, normally we're saying, oh, wait till next year. That class is always better, right? Big woof so far from what you're seeing.
I mean, it's awful. Like, I'm not even joking about how bad that class is. Now, someone's going to emerge. There's not, someone will get there. There are guys with potential, the Quinn Ewers and the Connor Wakeman's and whatever. But like this looks like it could easily be another 2022 quarterback class. And that's, Kenny Pickett went in the first round, shouldn't have. And then we got 3 quarterbacks in the third round. One's starting in the UFL now, so it's bad.
Yeah. 2013, 2022, and now 2025 potentially again, where we're looking at potential QB1 Carson Beck out of Georgia.
Yeah.
Good luck. Good luck if you don't get them this year.
Yikes.
All right. Let's move on to that. We've already got our quarterback in Chicago by way of the first pick with Caleb Williams. All right, Shane. So who are you pairing with Caleb Williams at pick 9 for the Chicago Bears?
I think there's a couple options here. I think they could go with a wide receiver. I think they could go with Rome Odunze. They just want to stack the weapons up for Caleb Williams. I think it'd be smart to do, but I don't think that the Bears are going to completely get away from the defensive side of the ball. The defense played really well last year. You traded for Montez Sweat. They don't have any other pass rushers really on the team next year that are not unrestricted free agents. So I'm going to go edge rusher, and I continue to say the best fit for the Bears defense is Dallas Turner, the edge rusher from Alabama. So I'm going to take him here. I think he's a better fit than Leitu Latu from UCLA. Turner has that stand-up ability that the Bears like to utilize. That first step explosiveness dip, I think it really fits and pairs well with Montez Sweat, who's the opposite on the other end. And plus, it allows me to hedge Latu's medicals if he does fall a little bit.
Yep. That's the first defensive player to go in our draft so far. First 8 all offense. All right. So now we're into pick 10 here, the New York Jets. And we're going back to the offensive side of the ball because we got to get somebody to block for our old quarterback, Aaron Rodgers here, because we're gonna do that again. So I'm going to the left tackle spot here. I like Olu Fashanu a little bit more than Joe Alt, based off potential more than what we've seen so far. But I think Fashanu has a chance to be a dominant left tackle in the NFL with the athleticism and the feet and everything. So give me Fashanu here at left tackle for the New York Jets.
Fashanu's going to be interesting. There's definitely, like you said, 2 years ago, I think was phenomenal. Last year, I think was up and down. He could be offensive tackle 3 or 4 off the board. Wouldn't overly surprise me, but I do like the fit with the Jets. So if he's sitting there, I think it would be a tough pass, but definitely some contenders here at offensive tackle.
All right. Up next, the Minnesota Vikings.
Minnesota kind of a tough team. I mean, there's no quarterback worth taking. So if they lose Kirk Cousins, they're going to have to find someone some other way ultimately. But this is a team right now. I think they're projected to have one edge rusher on the roster next year. Andre Carter, undrafted free agent out of Army, is the only edge rusher they have left that's not an unrestricted free agent. So might end up being a big need. I don't think Danielle Hunter's coming back at the very least. Maybe you can bring back DJ Wonnum. So I'm going to take Leitu Latu, the edge rusher out of UCLA here. I do like him. He's my edge 1 over Dallas Turner. I think Latu's the cross chop, the way that he can rush the passer, I think is phenomenal. The medicals check out. People are comfortable with him being a little bit older. I think this is a good spot for Latu.
I love Latu. Number 3 overall on my board, I think. I think he's still 3. Maybe he's 4 now. No, he's still 3. He balled out at the Senior Bowl the 2 days he was there. The injuries is the injury concern is literally it. That's the only thing I think is the knock on him at this point. Maybe arm length might get some people.
A little bit, yeah. An age, I guess, compared to the class, if you want a 21-year-old.
But I mean, at this point, I mean, if you're looking at edge guys, I mean, and age is concerned, well, you're not looking at him or Verse, so I guess you're skipping ahead to Chop Robinson, I guess.
Robinson, yeah, Braswell.
Yeah. So, we'll see. All right. That brings us to pick 12 in the Denver Broncos, a team also looking for a quarterback that's not available right now. If you're betting on a team that might trade up into maybe New England wants to trade out, maybe they want to trade ahead to get JJ McCarthy because they want to lock him in. I think Denver's a perfect candidate for that. But in this draft, we're not doing that. We're going to sit tight, and I'm going to go with a riser here. And I got probably maybe the biggest Senior Bowl riser out of anybody, and it feels a need right now, and it feels like a Sean Payton-ish pick. Going up the middle in the offensive line. Give me Jackson Powers Johnson, the center from Oregon at pick 12. A little high for a center, right?
Yeah.
But he could also play guard if need be, but I don't think that's where he'd play here in Denver. I think he'd be the pivot. But what got amazing power, right? He's a very athletic, big guy. Dominant. Like I said, this was my 9th year, I think, at the Senior Bowl as a member of media. First time I've ever seen an offensive lineman never lose a rep in the one-on-ones. Just never seen it. He never lost. And that's just amazing to me that he didn't get beat not one time. Like I said, is this a little high for a center? Maybe. But I feel like it feels like a Sean Payton-ish pick.
Yeah, I could see it happening. I'd be interested to see how they manipulate that offensive line if Quinn Miners moves over to center, if that whole happens. But if you draft Jackson Powers Johnson, you can leave your line the same, keep the continuity. I mean, I like it. It is a great fit. Just like, what does that do for you? Is the like
I don't know.
But it's
are
fair.
You winning any more games? I don't know the answer to that question. To me, you have to think they would have acquired a quarterback, right?
Yeah,
before that
somehow, some way.
Yeah,
so, no, it makes sense. I mean, if he's that good, he was in season. You could really remake the power run game as well with that.
All right, that brings us now to the Las Vegas Raiders. It's a weird offseason for these guys.
It is. We'll see how Antonio Pierce navigates the offseason. I think there's a lot of holes on the Raiders. You know, the defense had its moments, but they don't really have any good defensive tackles coming back. Need a corner. But the whole 3 out of the 4 starting offensive linemen as well are free agents. And honestly, none of them are anything to write home about as it is. So I think I'm going to turn there because I think the value is still there. So I'm going to take Talise Fuaga, offensive tackle out of Oregon State. I think he could slide right into right tackle. You still have Colton Miller at left tackle and have bookends for whatever they decide to do a quarterback moving forward as well.
There's a whole lot of teams got some bad quarterback play right now, man, and there ain't enough of them. It's just there's not enough to go around. All right, that brings us to pick 14. And hey, guess what? It's another team with bad quarterback play.
Surprising.
But unlike the other teams, the Saints are kind of stuck because, well, you know, Mickey Loomis and all that. And the way they structure their cap, they can't cut Derek Carr for at least a year, or else it's like $100 million dead hit or something, dead cap hit. Good luck with that.
I think he's at least better than these other. Like, he at least can play.
Right. He's
Aiden O'Connell and
let's call it
Nick
serviceable.
Mullins. Yeah, right.
Serviceable. So let's get our serviceable quarterback a wide receiver. And let's take one of my favorite guys in this class, Rome Odunze, the wide receiver from Washington here, to get Michael Thomas off this roster finally. They should have been gone 4 years ago, but they kept kicking that roster can down the road. Chris Olave, first round pick a couple years ago, has been up and down for the Saints. The highs have been high, the lows have been kind of low. And you got a nice one in Rashid Shaheed, who's an exclusive rights free agent, so he'll be back on the cheap. But let's get a true number one here, right, with Odunze.
I feel like this is probably Odunze's floor. A good chance he could go in the top 6-7 picks as well. Just the size and speed and athleticism and production is there. I'm a little lower on Odunze than consensus. I don't see that Washington offense translating immediately to the NFL and Odunze being able to step in and just be the guy. But hey, at 14, absolutely. I think take the shot. I was hoping he dropped one more spot.
Yeah, he'd look good with the Colts and what they're building. Right. Tommy wants to pop in and say he's got to go quick. Go Steelers, boo Bengals. Why do I keep putting Tommy's stuff up there?
He's a smart. That's why you want to put it back in.
All right. So that brings you here now with pick 15 and the Indianapolis Colts. Hey, look, it's a team that doesn't have quarterback issues, seemingly. Anthony Richardson looked like he was playing really well before the shoulder injury last year. So we're going to keep building around Anthony Richardson, right? So what are you adding to the Colts to help them get into the playoffs next year? They were close this year.
They were close this year and maybe could have had it. It's tough because I don't think there's a receiver worth taking that fits the Colts. I think the offensive line, running back is set, not a tight end here. So I almost have to look to the defensive side of the ball, where honestly I think they're in a little bit better shape than maybe people think. Grover Stewart's a free agent. They could look at the defensive line. But I think getting an elite corner might be the way to go. I mean, they drafted Juju Brents, Julius Brents out of Kansas State, and he's, I think, a serviceable starter. I think Dallas Flowers has been fine. But they could use a stud outside corner, number one, lock up the number one of other teams. And I'm going to go with my top corner. Mocks, I think, are all over the place with corner one. But I'm going to take Quinyon Mitchell, cornerback out of Toledo. I think after the Senior Bowl, the dominance that Mitchell had, and he has a little more of the size and the length, I think, than the other top corners in this draft, which the Colts would prefer.
Yeah. So breaking news here before the combine, before we know anything, Quinyon Mitchell now has at least an 8.5 RAS automatic. Just, we know this now. If he's going to be drafted by the Colts.
Right. That's true. He's got to get it. So he's got to get there.
Yep. So at minimum, he'll have an 8.5 by proxy of this mock draft pick. I joke. That now makes, by the way, the fourth Senior Bowl player drafted in the top 15 of our mock draft.
There you go.
All right. So now, Seattle Seahawks. Oh. Saints fan not happy with the receiver at 14. Just get over it.
If it wasn't Odunze, I'd probably agree. But Odunze, I feel like, is such a good compliment to Chris Olave. It'd be awesome.
Yeah. So Seattle Seahawks now on the board here at 16, and a lot of free agents on that interior offensive line. But our interior offensive line allotment has, I think, been exhausted here in the top 20 picks. So we can't go there. We need I'm gonna be honest. I with Ryan Grubb being the offensive coordinator now, in my mind says, would they draft Penix? Would they draft Penix? Maybe if they trade back. I don't think they do it at 15. But I'm gonna get an edge guy here, and I'm gonna pass on Jared Verse.
Ooh.
And I'm gonna go with Chop Robinson here at pick 16, just because he's younger. And I got a feeling that Verse is, maybe he falls like Jermaine Johnson did a couple of years ago. Almost fell out of the first round. But I know you like Chop Robinson. He's really good and had some great games earlier this season. unfortunately, the game I think I was watching, he got hurt early on. Was that against Michigan, I believe? He got hurt early in that one. I was really looking forward to seeing that. But Seahawks, what do you think about the Seahawks passing on Jared Verse and going with Chop Robinson?
I think this pick's going to look good in a month. I think once the combine's over and Chop Robinson is like a 9.6 Raz, people are going to be like, maybe Chop Robinson is a top 20 pick and Jared Verse is not, right? So it might sound a little crazy now, but I think it's actually a really good pick by you.
Zach pops in here on Twitter, says, thank you for your consistent 7-round mock drafts. I know how much work goes into that and that they love referencing them within their dynasty content.
Cool. I appreciate you reading, and I'm glad you enjoy them. That's every 2 weeks now till the draft. We'll be running them back.
Not giving up on this wide receiver argument, saying A.T. Perry is that guy. No,
yes. Look, Slay's all about A.T. Perry. That's fine.
I like A.T. Perry. A.T. Perry is not Rome Odunze.
He's not a starter. He's not a starter. Yeah.
No. Jacksonville Jaguars now kind of collapsed towards the back end of this season. But another team that doesn't have to worry about quarterback. They have Trevor Lawrence. Who are you looking here with the Jags at pick 17?
I think we're going to go on the defensive side of the ball here. Josh Allen, their edge rusher, is a free agent. So they could go with another edge rusher to pair with Trayvon Walker and potentially try to firm that up again. I don't know what's going to happen there. I'm going to pass. But really, I think the biggest issue for the Jacksonville Jaguars team was the interior defensive line. Their interior defensive line was awful. People could just run on them all day. So I'm going to take Byron Murphy, the defensive lineman out of Texas. Similar to you, Brian. I think a month from now, when Byron Murphy puts up a 9.5 for Raz, he's going to easily be the best defensive tackle in this class. I know we both like Jerzon Newton a lot, but I'm a little worried about Newton's athleticism. Byron Murphy has gonna have no trouble being super athletic at the combine.
That's fair. My heart jumped a little bit because my guy was already up to the podium at pick 18, and you said the interior defensive line. I got a little scared. Here's the thing. You said you're a little bit worried about Jerzon Newton's athleticism. You know who don't care about athleticism and Raz scores? The Cincinnati Bengals, baby. We don't care about stinking Raz scores and all that stuff, except for defensive backs. They care about it then, but everything else they don't care. But can I pass on offensive tackle?
There's a lot of good ones left.
A lot of people thinking the Bengals are going to go out and sign Jermaine Illuminor in free agency to play that right tackle position. If they do, I think it makes this less a have to. But God, I'm sitting here looking at Amarius Mims still on the board. Tyler Guyton is moving up the board, but I joked yesterday he's way too athletic for the Bengals to draft on the offensive line. So I'm going to stick to my gut here, and I am going to get an interior pass rusher that they haven't had in a while here since Geno Atkins, probably. I'm going to take Jerzon Newton from Illinois, and I'm not looking back.
I love Jerzon Newton. He's nasty. I think he's going to have a long NFL career. I don't think his draft profile will be clean cut like I said, in terms of athleticism, in terms of the little things. So it wouldn't surprise me if he falls. But hey, if the Bengals don't care, I hope you get him.
History tells us they don't, right?
Right. That's fair.
I mean, I'm not saying that to make fun. I mean, I kind of am, but it's true.
Yeah.
Injuries. I mean, even guys that don't test, they've shown it doesn't bother them. Should it? 100% should, but it doesn't. All right. Let's move. I'm going to take the Rams here to let you pick for the Steelers at 20. So you'll go back to back here at 20 and 21. I'll go back 18 and 19 here. And Rams, we got to get some pass rush, right? I mean, it feels like that's something that they've got to add here. They've got some holes at other spots. Corner is one I could definitely see them going here, but I am looking at Jared Verse, and I think that's a pick that I would make gladly for the Rams here at 19.
Yeah, just a value pick there for Verse, which I think is a good pick. I think they do need more of that pass rush, so I like that one.
Rams first round pick since 2016 when they drafted Jared Goff, number 1 overall. They haven't had a first round pick since then. 2024 will be the first one, barring they don't trade out. I kind of hope they do just to keep the streak going, to be honest.
Yeah, picking too high. They're going to make some picking.
Had they made a run in the playoffs, I think we could have pulled that off.
Maybe.
All right. Pittsburgh Steelers now, Shane. Maybe we've got Justin Fields at quarterback. Maybe we got Ryan Tannehill at quarterback.
Maybe Kenny Pickett. He's still his third year.
Maybe Kenny Pickett still at quarterback. Not Mason Rudolph though, right? We moved on from him.
I think they're going to offer him a contract, so we'll see.
But we did move on from Trubisky though.
Mitch Trubisky is out, so don't worry about that. And so is Presley Harvin after drafting him in the 5th or 6th round a couple years ago, punter. So
don't draft kickers.
Punters. Jake Moody, hey, he made 2 50-yard field goals in the Super Bowl, so not bad. And missed an extra point that cost him the game, but that's not.
And they still lost. So
yeah. So
anyway, don't draft kickers or long snappers.
I got so much crap for putting Torrey Taylor in the 3rd round of my 7-round mock draft. But like, I think it could happen.
The 3rd round.
I think it could happen.
To who?
Philadelphia Eagles.
Okay.
Who had one of the worst punting teams in the league.
That's fair. That is fair. I mean, it's happened. There's precedent for it. Didn't Brian Anger get drafted in the 3rd round?
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's precedent for it. I don't think it's smart precedent, but
yeah, probably won't happen, but fair. Right. Sorry, go ahead. Steelers 20.
Steelers 20. Yeah.
This is tough. I think honestly, if Jackson Powers Johnson's there, I think they run the card to the podium. Right? He is such a Steelers type pick. The center position is so important in Steelers history, from Jermani Dawson, Mike Webster, et cetera, et cetera. So it's been huge. They could take an offensive tackle, and I think there's some buzz maybe pairing Amarius Mims back with Broderick Jones and getting Georgia bookends. They just cut their other starting tackle. So there's a wide open hole there that certainly needs filled. Corner, I think, is a possibility. There's not a linebacker we're taking. But like I said, I think center is such an important position that I'm going to draft one here. And I'm going to take Graham Barton. We have listed as an offensive tackle. I'm going to take Graham Barton from Duke to play center for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Another kind of nasty, good bend, tough player who can put guys on the ground. I think he's thought of much higher NFL circles right now than in draft circles. And Graham Barton's probably a starting interior lineman day one.
Hell, he could be their starting right tackle. I mean,
right. That versatility's nice.
It is nice. I got to tell you, Graham Barton's going to be one of those names that's going to go like in this 20 to 27, 28 range. And people are going to be like, fan bases are going to hate it. And then he's starting for their team for 8 to 9 years. So, yeah, I like that pick, Graham Barton, versatile offensive lineman. All right, so you're back up now, 21 in the Miami Dolphins, a team that just kind of hit the bricks there towards the end of the season.
Yeah. I mean, they just couldn't hold up, I think, in terms of health there, ultimately. Man, a tough spot, I think, for the Dolphins here, because I think their needs do not line up with the board, right? Defensive tackle, I don't think there's a defensive lineman worth taking in the first round left to me. Maybe they could take someone that has some versatility. Maybe I'll come back to that. Interior line, again, I think that well's almost dried up, at least guys that fit the Miami Dolphins in their zone blocking scheme. I don't know if there's anyone worth taking here in that sense. So they could take a tackle. I mean, Austin Jackson is not exactly a great right tackle. So I'm kind of torn. I'm between taking a tackle or going with a Darius Robinson, who could play interior edge, could play a little bit of both. I think I'm going to play it safe for Miami, and I'm going to take Amarius Mims, the offensive tackle from Georgia, who can certainly play right tackle well, gives you a little versatility. I think it's a safer pick, but wouldn't surprise me if they did something off the wall.
They got to do something right at that position.
Yeah, you got to protect. He could protect to his blind side that you play him at right tackle, and I think it could go well.
All right. Philadelphia Eagles. Speaking of teams that kind of fell off the wagon there towards the end of the season, they don't have a lot of holes, right? And the holes they do have with pending free agents, they've kind of drafted to replace those guys in the past. I'm toying with corner Terrion Arnold here, but I'm not gonna go there because I feel like they drafted Keely Ringo last year. Bradbury's still under contract, although he could get released. But I feel like they don't have a real succession plan for Lane Johnson right now. And so I think that might be where they go here. And correct me if I'm wrong here. And I love me some tight ends that become offensive tackles. Wasn't Lane Johnson a tight end that became an offensive tackle at Oklahoma?
He was.
So let's replace or set up a tight end now playing offensive tackle from Oklahoma to take his place and draft Tyler Guyton, the offensive tackle from Oklahoma.
I like it. I like the fit. The Eagles drafted the kind of next in line guys, though they may have some bigger issues this year than they did last year.
That's fair. All right. Let's move on now. Houston Texans with the pick acquired in is this the last pick from the Deshaun Watson trade here? So
last first rounder.
Yeah, last pick. Yeah, that's right. This is a second rounder next year, I think. I can't remember. Anyway, so Houston here on the clock, 23 with the Browns pick.
I'm gonna go defense here. I actually think a lot of people draft a receiver for them. I think Nico Collins, Tank Dell, pretty good combo, to be honest. So I'm gonna go with defense. I think they could use an edge rusher, but also a corner. Their corners are pretty bad. Derek Stingley's great, but free agents abound next year, and they weren't very good. So with Terrion Arnold, the corner out of Alabama, still on the board, I'm going to take him here for Houston, pair him with Derek Stingley, and hope we could stop some of the passing attack in the AFC.
So Terrion Arnold to Houston.
Terrion Arnold is the pick for Houston at 23.
This is mirroring the reported drop of Kool-Aid amongst everybody as he is still on the board at available right now. Dallas Cowboys up here, and I have no clue. And Dallas Cowboys fans are the ones that get pissed off the most at mock drafts. I don't know why. They are very incorrigible bunch.
You got it right, Brian.
I'm struggling here because I feel like we're running out of left tackles to draft. So I don't want to go there with this pick. But what I will do is maybe pick a swing guy on the offensive line. Maybe he can play. He played left tackle this year. Maybe he has to kick inside the guard. I don't know. But I think he's really good. And that's Troy Faltanu. Offensive tackle, Washington is my pick here for the Cowboys.
Yeah, the Cowboys are known for moving the O lineman around, right? Tyler Smith's playing left guard now. You could kick him to left tackle, or Fatanu to left tackle. Could definitely happen there.
Yeah, I'm not in love with what I just did. I didn't really know.
Well, that's good because luckily, as you just said, the Cowboys fans are super nice and accommodating. So
we'll see. All right, Green Bay Packers here, pick 25.
Yeah, I feel like Green Bay, I mean, offensive tackle, offensive line makes a lot of sense. But they like super athletic guys. I'm not sure we have any of those left. So I look to the defensive side of the ball. They need the entire secondary to just be blown up and restarted almost. So let's do it. I think this is a great area for cornerbacks. So I'm going to take Nate Wiggins, the corner out of Clemson, give them someone with some speed, some playmaking ability. I think he would be the preference with who's on the board, can play nickel, and that could be the ideal here with Jair Alexander and Eric Stokes.
All right, there you go. So another cornerback not named Kool-Aid McKinstry going ahead of them. So poor Kool-Aid taking the fall. Tampa Bay, pick 26. Unrestricted free agent Baker Mayfield. They got to bring him back, right?
Yeah, I think they'll pay him.
We need a safety, but we don't need a safety at 26. There just ain't one to take here. It's just not. This safety class is second, third round guys, not first round guys. I don't hate someone like Cooper Beebe here for the interior offensive line, but I think Mike Evans is finally going to walk, and we're going to
really.
I think so, and I think we're going to replace him or attempt to replace him with the. I don't know if this is I don't know if this is the top rated guy here or not, but it feels right. Feels like a spot for Brian Thomas Jr., the wide receiver from LSU.
I think it's a good pick. I think he probably is the top guy, in terms of the NFL's eyes, scored the most touchdowns in FBS, has some of that deep threat ability while being 6'4", 210. Definitely fits the mold of the Mike Evans role in that offense. So I like that pick.
All right. Arizona Cardinals with the pick acquired in the trade down last year with the Houston Texans on the board at pick 27. They already took Marvin Harrison Jr. Shane, I made that pick. What are you going to do here for Arizona?
Well, I think they addressed the offense a bit with Harrison, like you said. I think it's time to move over to the defensive side of the ball, which needs a lot of work. Corner, definitely possibility. I think Kool-Aid now start talking about him coming off the board, not being a big interception guy, I think is an issue for him. Or Cooper DeJean, I think, from Iowa as well. But I think I'm going to go up front. I think the versatility of having a player that can stop the run and address the edge pass rush position is important to this defense. And I think Darius Robinson out of Missouri is the perfect player for the Arizona Cardinals defense. 285, plays the edge, can move them all around. That's what this defense likes to do. So I think he'd be a great fit.
He's another one of those Senior Bowl, the Senior Bowl bump, if you will. Robinson got that great. Was voted the best practice player overall by the NFL people in attendance. So Darius Robinson, first rounder now, pick 27. All right, we're gonna get crazy here with the Buffalo Bills.
Oh no.
I am normally against this sort of thing in the first round, but I think it fits a need for the Panthers. I think it, and because the drop off from him to the next at his position is so deep, I think they make the call here.
Bills,
and, the Bills make the call here and put another Texas collegiate defensive lineman next to Ed Oliver. T'Vondre Sweat, pick 28 to the Buffalo Bills.
No, look, I think this is the range for Sweat. I think we're talking, 25 to 50 feels right for him. Generally, those big guys fall more than they rise.
I agree. That's why I was hesitant.
And I don't know about putting him next to Ed Oliver. Like, do they not want to rush from the interior? Is that the goal?
It's overrated.
the lateral agility. But no, I mean, look, Sweat can do a little bit of that. I mean, he's good. He's really good. So I would not have expected that, but I think it could be good. I think the range is good. I think this could be where he goes.
This is definitely the high end, I think, of the range.
Right. I think early second makes sense, but we could be talking in April, like, T'Wondre Sweat. He's gonna get got a surprise first round pick for you. That's what he's gonna be, that guy in April.
Well, speaking of teams that like surprise first round picks, the Detroit Lions certainly appear that way, as they did it last year with Jahmyr Gibbs and Jack Campbell. Both worked out for the most part. How do you feel about the Lions here in the first round?
I think they're in a tough spot, just with how the draft has gone. Because to me, I think the Lions desperately need a corner upgrade. The problem is they like to have guys that can kind of bump and run, press. I don't know if we have those guys anymore, here. So I think that's part of the issue. I think they could absolutely use interior line, maybe a receiver. I feel like Jameson Williams has not really worked out, to be honest with you. But I don't know if there's someone that I feel is glaringly worth the pick here. So, you know what? We saw last year that the Lions took Brian Branch, like that kind of safety corner versatility. So let's do it again. Let's take Cooper DeJean, cornerback out of Iowa, who I think has a little more pressability than Kool-Aid McKinstry does. You could play him at, potentially the left cornerback spot. I think DeJean, Brian Branch, and Cam Sutton make a pretty good trio. Hopefully, fix that secondary.
Yeah, I like it. Kool-Aid, balling, just tumbling.
Just fit is tough for him, because I think a lot of teams could struggle there, and maybe this one might be the one to pick up the value.
They do like to do that. They do like to do that, don't they? Normally when you see a team this late in the first round, there isn't a whole lot of holes on that team, right?
Right.
That is not the case with the Baltimore Ravens entering this offseason. We're missing a starter at right guard. No pass rush coming back at all, right? It doesn't look like. Justin Madubuike going to probably be one of the biggest free agent deals this offseason, right? On the interior defensive line. Replacing Patrick Queen and Kyle Van Noy at linebacker. Geno Stone at say, I mean, there's a lot of holes, a lot of reserves on this team, free agents as well. This team's got to fill a lot of spots here, but they always draft guys that fall. And then everybody's like, how can they keep getting away with this? Looking at Kyle Hamilton, Tyler Linderbaum, they've done it, and I'm with you. And I think Kool-Aid McKinstry is that falling guy. Plus, they love Alabama guys. So,
sure.
Historically speaking, so Kool-Aid McKinstry, let's stop his fall here at pick 30 to the Baltimore Ravens.
I mean, I think it's a good pick. I think he's a good fit there, where they're fine with the finesse a little bit sometimes. So I can dig it.
All right, Super Bowl runner-up, San Francisco 49ers.
We're in rough shape here for this pick. I think the 49ers, another team that needs to just remake the secondary. They need a corner. They need a safety. I don't think there's anyone really worth this pick at either of those positions anymore. So I'm going to turn my look to pass rush. We saw Chase Young kind of stink down the stretch and had a really good Super Bowl. He's a free agent. They traded for him. They drafted Drake Jackson in 22, but ultimately I think having a versatile edge rusher who can put his hand down, stand up would be good. So I'm going to go with Chris Braswell, the edge rusher out of Alabama, play the Will Anderson spot this year. I think you could plug him in, rotate him in with Drake Jackson, and have a good pass rush across from Nick Bosa. Even if they sign Chase Young, I don't think it'd be a bad pick to take Braswell.
Just stack guys. It'd be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Make your strength stronger. That's no problem. Kansas City Super Bowl champions did it with one of the worst receiving cores out there, right?
Yeah.
I mean, so let's get him somebody. And I'm looking at the board here. I like a handful of guys, but a guy I don't think we've talked about a whole hell of a lot on the podcast, and maybe we should have, is Oregon wide receiver Troy Franklin. Big, fast, great hands. If he's on the board here at pick 32, I think Kansas City looks long and hard at him, as well as a couple other guys. But I like the fit in their offense, and he's something they don't really have, right? Big and fast.
Yeah, I think Kansas City's in a good spot to get a downfield receiver if they want it. I think Troy Franklin is the best all around. He's shown he can play deep. I've been mocking Xavier Worthy from Texas to them because he's going to be a 4-3 guy. But you have Roman Wilson as a versatile piece, right? Keon Coleman from Florida State if you want a bigger downfield guy. So I think there's going to be a lot of possibilities if they do want to invest this pick in a receiver.
Yeah. All right. So normally we would cut it off here, but there's a couple other teams that didn't have first-round picks, so we're going to pick for them too, or at least we'll definitely pick for one. We'll kind of give you an estimate on the other spot.
I'm picking the other spot.
My God, Shane's going to do it. But anyway, I'm going to pick for the Carolina Panthers, who don't have a first-round pick. Poor guys. So we're going to go with a wide receiver here. We got to get somebody. We don't have anybody at all. We just saw Troy Franklin go. Would have been a good grab there. I'm going to go with the guy I mocked to them, and I know I've seen a lot of Vlad McConkey here in this spot, and a lot of you might have had that in your mock. But I'm going to go back to my mock 2 weeks ago or 10 days ago, and I'm going to go with the Adonai Mitchell, the wide receiver from Texas. Big catch radius. I think we need to give Bryce Young something that can maybe get it done in the red zone.
No, I think it's fair. Once again, I think wide open that late first, early second for receiver. So Adonai Mitchell fits if Jonathan Mingo is not the guy, and now the coach that wanted him isn't there. So he's probably going to get buried. Terrace Marshall hasn't worked out. It's been rough receiver for Carolina. Maybe they should have given up DJ Moore in the trade. I'm just saying.
I wonder if Terrence Marshall became available, if the Bengals would give him a look.
Be a nice replacement for Tyler Boyd, but I like Terrace Marshall coming out. So.
I did too, but I'm saying I know somebody else who likes Terrence Marshall too. So you got to think he might have a little pull in that organization if somebody like that became available.
That's fair. That's a good point.
All right. Cleveland Browns pick 54 in the second round. What are they looking at? Who are they taking?
Yeah, look, I think the Browns, they could use a receiver. Cedric Tillman's fine, but I think outside of Amari Cooper, who I think he's a free agent as well. O-line, offensive tackle. They need defensive line help. I think they need help stopping the run, get a little pass rush. So what do we know with the Browns? They like their players young, which might be tough in this draft. It was tough for them last year. They couldn't do it all draft. They like them athletic. So I'm going to go with former freak list star, only a 4-year player, in Chris Jenkins, the defensive lineman out of Michigan, 6'3", 285, super strong, will get a good push. I think, guys like Leonard Taylor, maybe even Mike Hall will be gone by that point or around that pick. So I think Jenkins is probably the best fit.
Yeah, I was told that the first 3 rounds, they try to stick to the young. After that, they get a bit more age flexible.
Yeah, you have to now when there's only 60 guys coming out of it.
It's only so much you can do at some point. All right, so that concludes our live mock here. I will quickly review the picks. Pick 1, Chicago, Caleb Williams, quarterback, Southern Cal. 2, Commanders, Drake May, quarterback, North Carolina. 3, Patriots, Jaden Daniels, quarterback, LSU. 4, Cardinals, Marvin Harrison Jr., wide receiver, Ohio State. 5, Chargers, Brock Bowers, tight end, Georgia. 6, Giants, Malik Neighbors, wide receiver, LSU. 7, Titans, Joe Alt, tackle, Notre Dame. 8, Atlanta, J.J. McCarthy, quarterback, Michigan. 9, Chicago, Dallas Turner, edge rusher, Alabama. 10, Jets, Olu Fashanu, offensive tackle, Penn State. 11, Minnesota, Laiatu Latu, edge rusher, UCLA. 12, Denver, Jackson Powers Johnson, interior offensive lineman, Oregon. 13, Raiders, Talise Fuaga, offensive tackle, Oregon State. 14, Saints, Roma Dunze, wide receiver, Washington. 5, Indianapolis Colts, Quinyon Mitchell, cornerback, Toledo. 16, Seahawks, Chop Robinson, edge rusher, Penn State. 17, Jags, Byron Murphy, defensive lineman, Texas. 18, Bengals, Jerzon Newton, defensive line, Illinois. 19, Rams, Jared Verse, edge, Florida State. 20, Steelers, Graham Barton, interior offensive line, Duke. 21, Miami, Amarius Mims, offensive tackle, Georgia. 22, Eagles, Tyler Guyton, offensive tackle, Oklahoma. 23, Texans, Terry and Arnold, cornerback, Alabama. 24, Cowboys, Troy Fautanu, offensive tackle, Washington. 25, Packers, Nate Wiggins, corner, Clemson. 26, Bucks, Brian Thomas Jr., wide receiver, LSU. 27, Cardinals, Darius Robinson, defensive line or edge rusher, Missouri. 28, Buffalo Bills, Tavondre Sweat, defensive line, Texas. 29, Detroit Lions, Cooper DeJean, corner, Iowa. 30, Baltimore, Kool-Aid McKinstry, corner, Alabama. 31, 49ers, Chris Braswell, edge, Alabama. 32, Kansas City, Troy Franklin, wide receiver, Oregon. 33, Carolina, A.D. Mitchell, wide receiver, Texas. And 54, Cleveland, Chris Jenkins, defensive line, Michigan. That is our live mock draft for tonight. Shane, how you feel about it?
That's good. That's good. I think we had some surprises. I think we had some different things. Some guys fall out. J.C. Latham from Alabama, the offensive tackle.
I didn't even think about that.
Maybe some guys unexpected, right? But that's what happens in the NFL draft, so I like it.
Yeah, I do too. All right, so that's going to do it for tonight's show. We had some questions, Shane, that I wanted to get to. I've been meaning to get to them for the last 2 weeks now and just forgot all about it. Cliff sent these questions to you and asked them. There's 3 of them. First of all, he says, mainly it's a film versus overall body potential question, but the LSU quarterback Daniels reminds me of the Burrow year. I would not have taken Burrow because my gambling mind won't allow me to wait 1 year, even the most recent so heavily. He's obviously going to blow the combine up, but does that really put him over May, who 2 months ago would be viewed as many as very close second to Williams?
So I think the difference with Jayden Daniels is he's not a 1 year guy, right? I mean, his first season, really first 2, but really his first freshman season, 18 years old, Jayden Daniels looked like a future top 10 pick, and then we saw a change in the coaching staff at Arizona State. Things fell off for him. And we saw even last year, 2 years ago now with LSU, he started to kind of come around late in the season, started to look like an NFL quarterback and make NFL throws. And now he had arguably a better season than Joe Burrow had, to be honest, if you want to put all these stats together and what he did to kind of take this offense with a terrible defense over. So, I think Drake May has maybe a ton of potential to be a little more traditional quarterback with the size and the arm. But in today's NFL, Jayden Daniels does have a body of work. I think it's much bigger than 1 year, or we wouldn't be talking about this, right? If Brennan Armstrong did this, even I don't think we'd be putting them up there, right? But I think Jayden Daniels has that ability. He was in the SEC. That makes it a little bit different.
Yeah, his body of work, was actually more substantial than Burrow's. So if you go back to Arizona State, right? Yeah. So, but we're not saying he's going to be better than Joe Burrow, obviously, but Jayden Daniels, I think, is going to be a good NFL quarterback. His next question was regarding Olu Fashanu. From what he's hearing, not a great year after a great 2022, but seems to have the most potential, currently being priced as more likely to go before Joe Alt, not in our mock draft tonight. Alt seems to be the total package. So how do you weight this, and what are your thoughts on what Alt's RAS will be? Is he unathletic? He has a bloodline, so there's a disconnect somewhere. I'm wondering if the book is right or guys like big draft guys more right on this one.
You'll have to fill in because we just saw it in the mock a bit. I think Joe Alt's going to go before Olu Fashanu. It's not guaranteed. Different teams run different things. I think Alt is extremely athletic. I think he has a little more of the pure athleticism. Now, Fashanu has kind of the size and arm length and all that to match. But I think Alt has just played so well for 3 years, barely let a pass rush through. I think he goes first. I think it's more likely Fashanu is the offensive tackle 3 off the board than offensive tackle 1, personally.
As far as Raz goes, is Penn State's strength and conditioning guy the same one they've had there for the past 4 or 5 years?
Yeah, it's still really good.
His Raz will be higher than Alt's. Just speculation on my part, just based purely on that. I have no other information, but I don't know that you're going to go wrong either way when it push comes to shove.
Yeah, I think Cliff's trying to bet it. So what? Who's going first ultimately?
I forgot we answered degenerate questions around there. My God.
We do. Well, don't be talking. I've seen some bets that you've made, Brian, so I don't want to hear it.
This is true. His other question was about the medicals on Latu. How does a kid who medically retired, which he did at Washington before transferring to UCLA, go in the top 10 like he's being mocked? Seems like the similar to Tyree Wilson from Texas Tech last year, who had far less medical concerns. If I recall, neither one of us liked him, but was still drafted high, so I don't know. I guess this question is, do you think someone like Latu makes it to his second contract?
Yeah, I mean, the question of is Latu Latu going to get drafted highly, top 10? I think the jury's still out is the issue. We need to see what the medical says on Latu Latu. That's kind of the question. As Cliff mentioned, Latu Latu didn't retire because he didn't feel like he couldn't play again, right? Washington told him, you can't. You literally can't play again.
And it was a neck, right?
Neck injury. But so here's the thing with the neck injury is if he can play, it's probably fine. This isn't a knee, this isn't a back where maybe you can tough through the pain. If he had that neck injury and there was something that could be wrong, he would not be allowed to play football because he could die. So the fact that he was able to come back, to me, because it was a neck, is actually a positive thing because it tells you it's probably is over. Now, we still got to see the medicals, the combine, and find out. I'm sure he'll have a recheck. They'll bring him back. He'll get tested by every team 78 times on this, no matter what. But I feel more comfortable with Latu than I would. Even, Cliff mentions Tyree Wilson from last year, even more than Tyree Wilson, some of the injuries that he had.
Right. And I like Latu much more than I did Tyree Wilson.
Agreed.
All right. So that's all the questions we had for the evening. That brings us to our final thoughts, and our thoughts go out to those affected in Kansas City by the mass shooting today at the Super Bowl parade. Yeah. This is an inherently all too common thing here in this great country of America. And I'm not going to go off on that tangent, but that's going to do it for tonight's edition of the Draft Countdown podcast. Follow me on Twitter at Deep Fried Draft. Follow Shane on Twitter at Shane P. Hallam. Follow Draft Countdown on Twitter at Draft Countdown, and go to draftcountdown.com for all your draft needs, including Shane's latest 7-round mock. For Shane, I'm Brian. Good night, everybody.